to 6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here today with the Winco PTO Generator. I'm going to show you around this, describe to you a little bit some of the features that you might want to look at if you're considering a generator for powering your home. Also talk through some of the different applications for these versus say some other types of standby generators that you might find. There's a lot of different products out there on the market that you can purchase for backup power for your home, right? There's a little standby crate generators that you can carry around. You could get installed generators at your home sitting on a pad. But if you have a tractor, you might want to consider simply getting a generator to run off the power takeoff on your tractor. You'll see some guys recommend against this on the internet quite a lot, actually, and it's one thing I probably would not agree with. In my opinion, a tractor power generator is really only positives. The engine that's in your tractor is going to have very good fuel economy, much better than any kind of propane or gasoline powered engine is going to. It also can run for tens of thousands of hours. A lot of guys will look at these and think, I don't want to put those hours on my tractor, you know, have to park the thing outside and run it for 48 hours straight spinning the generator. I don't want to wear my tractor out. You're certainly not ever going to wear out the engine in one of these small tractors. That engine probably has 4 times the lifespan to it as what the rest of the machine ultimately is going to. Those little diesel engines are incredibly durable, so I can't think of any good reason not to see this as a very viable setup, contrary to what you often will hear online. So when you're sizing a generator to your tractor, there are some limits on how much current you're able to get out of a generator based upon the PTO horsepower of your tractor. And remember, you do want to be looking at PTO horsepower, not engine horsepower. It takes basically 2 PTO horsepower for every 1 kW, 1,000 watts, that you're going to get out of a generator. So if you have a tractor that's generating 20 horsepower at the PTO, you have enough horsepower in order to power a 10,000 watt generator. This one that I'm sitting on right here is a 15 kW unit, so to be able to drive this to its full capacity takes 30 PTO horsepower in order to do that. Now, that does not mean that you have to have that much tractor to power a generator of that size. You very easily can take this 15 kW unit and hook it up to the back of this BX 1880 here that's going to have a 14 PTO horsepower and be able to run it just fine. You're simply only going to get about 7 kW of power out of the generator before the tractor's engine can't keep up with the load, and you'll start to vary off of that 60 cycles per second that we're looking for US AC power. So it is perfectly okay to oversize the generator to the tractor. There are 2 things in the generators that you can kind of distinguish a more commercial, heavier duty unit versus a more residential one. One thing here you'll notice is the gauges. This one only has a gauge on here for AC voltage, so you're going to hook this up to your tractor and run your RPMs up until you reach the desired voltage. The bigger commercial units are also going to have a second gauge on here showing your AC cycles per second, that you can kind of keep those 2 gauges in mind when you start to load that tractor up and strain it, that you keep them at the proper RPMs for the generator in order to keep your AC power clean. Another thing that is kind of that determining factor for durability is the internal speed of the generator. Your more residentially minded units are going to be 3,600 RPM generator units. The bigger commercial ones are going to be 1,800 RPMs. Now, when you drop the RPMs, you need more copper and more windings inside that generator in order to reach your desired current that you want out of it. So you'll notice those commercial units have a much bigger generator unit on the back of it compared to the residential ones. The back side of the generator here, we have a handful of plugs. Now, you have 2 regular 20 amp Edison outlets if you have, say, simple tools or that kind of thing that you want to plug into this. But for the most part, to get the current off of these generators, you need some big plugs in order to do it. This generator here can create 130 amps coming out of it, which is a lot of current. And so in this case, they do this with one of these big EP plugs. When you get to generators larger than this, usually you're going to see some big non-standard plugs for what you're generally used to seeing in, say, wall outlets and that kind of stuff. Big handles with 4 conductors going up into them that push back into this, that are meant to be tied directly into a transfer switch on the other end. So you'll see some somewhat standard plugs on the smaller units, but expect to get to the bigger ones, you got to pay attention to that wiring and the plugs that are involved. Usually I'm gonna sell one of these, the commercial units with those bigger plugs with a pigtail. So when we go through and configure the generator, we're gonna ask you how long of a length of cable you need to get back to that transfer switch, and we're gonna have those big heavy plugs included for you on the other end. In conclusion, I really like the idea of a PTO generator on the backside of a tractor, despite what some people online will say. Those things just don't ring real true to me. We're going through here and looking at setting up one of these. Most people seem to be served quite well by the residential-minded units for a regular-sized home or residence. When we get up into farms and that kind of stuff, where we have dairies that are backing up, milking parlors and that kind of stuff, we'll move up into larger commercial units at that point. But you'll find many people here within our dealerships, our employees, my dad actually has one, that'll go and power their whole home when the power goes out very successfully with a small PTO generator. So Winco tends to be our go-to company for this. They're really kind of the premium provider of these out here at this point. A domestically made company that we can get good support from and are able to service you regardless of where you're at. This is a piece that we can find dropship opportunities for to send to your door. So we'll put some links here to take you to our website. You can look up some pricing and stuff for these. If you've got questions, give us a call, 800-222-3373, or online at Messick's.com. Go on my personal channel. All the meal plan on the